You've probably heard the phrase, align with the universe. It sounds beautiful, doesn't it? Like all you need is to light a candle, set your intention, and suddenly everything flows. But let's get real for a moment. If alignment were that easy, you wouldn't still feel stuck, still hustling, still wondering why, despite all your effort, your reality isn't catching up to your vision. Because what you've been taught about alignment is incomplete, oversimplified, romanticized. You were told that alignment is a feeling, that it's about being calm, thinking positively, or raising your vibration. But here's the hard truth. Quantum alignment is not about how you feel in the moment. It's about what you are consistently. It's about the patterns coded deep into your nervous system, the emotional signals you broadcast when no one's watching. It's about the field of information your body is pulsing into, the quantum every second, whether you're thinking positive or not. Most people don't have a manifestation problem. They have a misalignment problem. They're trying to create a high-frequency life while living in low-frequency habits, trying to attract peace while vibrating in resistance, trying to call in abundance while identifying with lack. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. You can't fake your frequency. The quantum field doesn't respond to your wishful thinking. It responds to your coherence. It reads the totality of your being, your thoughts, yes, but also your emotions, your memories, your fears, your expectations. Alignment is not a mindset. It's a system-wide broadcast. And most people are sending static. So if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right and still not seeing results, you're not broken. You're just misinformed. Because true alignment has nothing to do with forcing good vibes. It's not about being endlessly optimistic. It's about becoming an exact vibrational match to the life you want at the level of being. Not just doing. In this video, we're going to tear down the myths. We'll go beyond the spiritual slogans and into the physics of personal transformation. We'll explore why alignment is not a passive state, it's a radical act of becoming, and why chasing outcomes is the surest way to repel them. Because quantum alignment isn't what you think. It's not a ritual. It's not a feeling. It's a recalibration of your entire inner world to match a reality that already exists in the field, waiting for your signal. So the question isn't, how do I get what I want? The question is, who do I have to become to be aligned with it? And that's where we begin. You've been told that manifestation is all about clarity, that if you know what you want, write it down and visualize it hard enough, the universe will deliver. And for a while, that might even feel like it's working. You set an intention, and boom, something shows up. Coincidences, signs, little synchronicities. And it feels magical. But then the bigger desires come, the deep ones, the ones that actually matter. And suddenly, silence. Why? Because the quantum field doesn't just respond to clarity of thought, it responds to clarity of being. You can say, I am ready, 1,000 times, but if your nervous system is still bracing for disappointment, if your subconscious is still wired for survival, if your energy is still carrying trauma, shame, or scarcity, then your signal is not aligned. And the quantum field doesn't negotiate. It reflects. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you are. That's why some people seem to attract abundance effortlessly, while others, working just as hard, keep hitting invisible walls. It's not about how much you want something. It's about whether you're broadcasting permission to receive it. Most teachings on manifestation only scratch the surface. They focus on the conscious mind, on thoughts, on affirmations, on vision boards. But the conscious mind is not the one in charge of your frequency. That job belongs to your body, your emotions, your energy field. Let me put it this way. If you think you deserve love, but your body still carries the imprint of betrayal. The field picks up on the wound, not the wish. If you say you're abundant, but flinch every time you check your bank account, the field mirrors the fear, not the affirmation. This is why alignment cannot be forced. It cannot be faked. You can't just script a new life. You have to embody it. And embodiment means coherence. It means every part of your mind, body, heart, and energy are broadcasting the same message. No more mixed signals. No more chasing. Just resonance. But to get there, you have to stop asking, "What do I want?" and start asking, "What is my dominant frequency right now?" Because until you shift that, the universe has no choice but to keep reflecting the old program. That's not punishment. That's precision, and understanding that changes everything. You might think you're ready. You might even feel excited, hopeful, determined. But the question is, what's happening underneath? Because most of your frequency isn't conscious. It's not in your words. It's in your wiring. Your nervous system has been shaped by every experience you've ever had. Every betrayal. Every disappointment. Every time you hoped for something and it didn't come. Your body took notes. Your subconscious created rules. And those rules now run the show, silently. This is why people can want success and yet procrastinate. Why they desire love and yet push it away. Why they affirm abundance and yet always feel behind. It's not sabotage. It's protection. Your body is trying to keep you safe, even if that means keeping you small. And this safety mechanism is not rational. It doesn't care what you want. It cares what's familiar. So if chaos is familiar, you'll recreate it. If struggle is familiar, you'll attract it. If heartbreak is familiar, you'll expect it, even if you say otherwise. That's the problem. With high vibes only. It skips the part where your nervous system is still gripping to fear, still scanning for threats, still bracing for impact. You can't meditate your way out of trauma you haven't acknowledged. You can't think positive over patterns you haven't rewired. And this is where most manifestation advice turns into spiritual bypassing. It tells you to elevate your thoughts, but not your frequency. True quantum alignment starts when you stop pretending you're fine and start listening to what your body is actually broadcasting. Because your heart might be open, but if your gut is clenched in anxiety, if your breath is shallow, if your shoulders are tight, the field hears that. Energy doesn't lie. And here's the kicker. You're not broken. This isn't a flaw. It's just a signal mismatch. You've been trained to survive, not to receive. But survival mode is not a match for expansion. It's not a match for ease or joy or freedom. That's why healing your nervous system is spiritual work. It's not a side task. It's the core task. Because until your body feels safe having the thing you desire, it will keep pushing it away, no matter how clearly you visualize it. So the real work isn't just imagining your dream life. It's becoming a safe place for it to land. That's the new definition of alignment. Not being positive, but being congruent, being whole, being receptive. Only then can the field respond, not to the story you're telling, but to the truth you're living. If this message is resonating with you, if it's stirring something inside you that you can't quite name, then you're in the right place. This space was created for those who feel the pull of something deeper, something real. So if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to the channel. Leave a like if this is helping you see things differently. And share in the comments. What part of this message hit you the hardest? I read every one. Let's expand together. Asterisk. And this brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of alignment, the illusion of effort. Most people assume that the more they do, the more aligned they become. So they fill journals with affirmations, chase synchronicities, obsess over full moons, angel numbers, Or Mercury retrogrades, thinking that alignment is something they can earn through spiritual productivity. But the quantum field doesn't care how many tools you use. It responds to the core of your being, not your rituals, not your routines, not your metaphysical to-do list. Alignment isn't something you do. It's something you are. And the only reason you feel out of alignment is because you're trying to perform your way into something that requires surrender, not hustle, not control, not perfect manifestation techniques, but stillness, presence, truth. This is where most seekers get stuck because they think alignment means feeling good all the time. But alignment isn't about bypassing discomfort. It's about being so deeply anchored in what's real that you stop running from the parts of yourself you don't want to see. Here's the paradox. The more you chase alignment, the more you reinforce the frequency of misalignment. Why? Because chasing implies lack. It implies that where you are isn't enough, that you aren't enough. And so, even while saying all the right things, your signal is distorted. You're sending out a frequency of grasping, of needing something outside of you to validate what's already true inside of you. The field doesn't translate your words. It reads your state. So if your state is desperate, fragmented, or striving, you could meditate for hours and still get nowhere, because your nervous system is still broadcasting resistance. True alignment often feels like nothing at all, not a spiritual high, not an explosion of clarity, but a quiet return to what's always been there, a sense of inner yes that needs no explanation, a moment where you're not trying to be anything. You're simply being, no more proving, no more pushing, just space. Spaciousness, in fact, is one of the clearest markers of alignment, because when you're aligned, you're not crammed inside your head, strategizing how to get what you want. You're open, you're listening, you're available to life, not trying to manipulate it. This doesn't mean you stop taking action. It means your action is no longer fueled by fear. It's no longer compensation for inner disconnection. It's no longer performance. It's movement from alignment, not toward it. And when you act from that space, there's no anxiety, no second guessing, no wondering if it's working. You know it is because you're no longer trying to force a reality to conform to your will. You're letting reality reflect your coherence. Think of alignment like tuning an instrument. You don't yell at the strings or demand they sound. Right, you listen, you adjust, you find the note. You feel when it's in tune, and when it's not, your energy is the same. It doesn't respond to pressure. It responds to presence. But presence is uncomfortable when you've built your identity around doing, around fixing, around getting somewhere. So many people would rather stay in the chaos of effort than sit in the silence of alignment, because silence forces you to confront what you've been avoiding. And that's the real work. Not the crystals, not the mantras, but facing the noise inside you long enough for it to dissolve. Because once that dissolves, what's left is clarity. And clarity doesn't need permission. It doesn't wait. It acts from knowing. And that knowing? It's what alignment actually is. Asterisk, asterisk. And maybe this is the part no one tells you, that alignment isn't found in a mountaintop revelation or a 10-step ritual. It's in the micro moments. It's in how you hold your body when no one's watching. It's in the pause before you say yes to something that drains you. It's in the breath you take before reacting to your triggers. This is where the shift happens. Not in the grand gesture, but in the quiet reorientation toward integrity. Because when you betray yourself in small ways, the field picks that up. It listens to the subtle discord between what you say you want and how you treat yourself in private. You can't affirm abundance while starving your needs. You can't call in love while tolerating neglect. You can't manifest clarity while living in confusion and self-abandonment. That's the contradiction the field reads. It's not judgmental. It's just responsive. Energy is not moral. It's not reward and punishment. It's resonance. It gives you back what you are aligned with, not what you wish for. And here's the kicker. You don't have to be healed to be in alignment. You just have to stop fighting yourself. Alignment begins not when you become perfect, but when you become honest. It's in that moment you finally admit, this version of me is tired. This pattern hurts. I don't want to keep proving my worth. That's the doorway. Not the polished version of you, but the real one. The one that knows what hurts, what's missing, what's been ignored. Because truth is magnetic. Not performance, not pretending. Just raw, unfiltered truth. When you finally admit it, not to the world, but to yourself, you come back into coherence. And coherence is power. It's the moment when the different parts of you, the scared part, the hopeful part, the wise part, start facing the same direction. That's alignment, not perfection, but unity. You become one signal, one frequency, and the field can finally say, yes, now I know how to respond. That's the paradox. The most spiritual thing you can do might just be telling the truth about how human you feel. Asterisk, asterisk. And once you start telling the truth, not the story you were taught to repeat, not the version that makes everyone else comfortable, but the truth that lives in your bones, everything begins to reorganize. The universe doesn't respond to masks. It responds to signals. And your truth, however inconvenient, raw, or unfinished, is a far clearer signal than any polished affirmation. You might be surprised how quickly things shift once you stop hiding from yourself. Because what blocks manifestation isn't lack of desire. It's the shame you carry for having needs. It's the fear that if you're fully seen, you'll be left. It's the unconscious agreement you made to shrink, to be easy, to be quiet, to not take up too much space. But here's what alignment asks of you: to break those old contracts, not by force, not by rebellion, but by presence. To sit with yourself and say, I don't want to be silent anymore. I don't want to carry everyone else's expectations. I'm allowed to need what I need. That's where quantum alignment begins to take root, in reclaiming the parts of you you've exiled. Because the universe can't deliver what you won't allow yourself to hold. It can't bring you peace if you're addicted to chaos. It can't bring you love if you're married to martyrdom. It can't bring you purpose if you're afraid of visibility. So it waits. Not as punishment, but as permission. It waits for you to return to yourself. To stop outsourcing your power to outcomes, to validation, to approval. It waits for you to recognize that the thing you're chasing is already alive in you. Just buried under conditioning. You don't need to raise your vibration by becoming someone else. You raise it by removing what's not yours. The lies, the roles, the survival strategies. When you do that, you return to your original frequency, not the one shaped by trauma, but the one encoded in your soul. That's when alignment stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like remembering. Because you're not reaching for something out there. You're reclaiming something in here. And suddenly, you're not trying to force outcomes. You're becoming the outcome. Not magic, that's physics. That's the law of resonance at work. When your inner state is a match to your outer desire, reality has no choice but to shift. So the next time you feel stuck, don't ask, what do I need to do? Ask, what part of me am I still hiding? Because it's not your frequency. That's wrong. It's the mask that's muffling it. Remove the mask. Let your energy speak without censorship. That's alignment. That's power. That's the signal the universe can finally hear. Asterisk, asterisk. There's a reason this kind of alignment feels so radical. Because it is. We've been taught to seek control, not connection. To micromanage outcomes instead of trusting the field. to strategize instead of synchronize. But control is always rooted in fear. And alignment doesn't grow in fear, it dissolves there. This is why so many people burn out on manifestation. They try to force alignment like it's a checklist. Visualize, affirm, journal, meditate, but they're still gripping underneath it all, gripping to timelines, gripping to self-worth narratives, gripping to the belief that nothing happens unless they make it happen. And that grip, it scrambles the frequency. Because the universe doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your signal. And your signal is shaped by your nervous system, your trauma, your beliefs, your body's readiness to receive. So what happens when your signal says, I need this to happen, or I'm not safe? The universe doesn't interpret that as readiness. It reads it as lack, as scarcity, as resistance. That's the paradox. You get what you're ready to live without. Not in the sense of apathy, but in the sense of non-attachment. Of being so rooted in your own worth, so anchored in your own presence, that you're no longer chasing anything to feel whole. And it's in that space of wholeness without proof that miracles become natural. Because they're no longer compensating for your pain. They're responding to your truth. So when people ask, how do I know if I'm in alignment? It's not about how perfect your life looks. It's about how honest you feel, how deeply your actions reflect your values, how your body feels when you say yes or no, whether you're still living for approval or finally breathing for yourself. Alignment is not a performance, it's a frequency of coherence between your inner and outer worlds. And when that coherence clicks into place, you stop broadcasting static. You stop living in contradiction. You stop leaking energy trying to be palatable. You stop begging life to deliver what you won't claim. Because now you are the signal. You've become the invitation. And the things you once chased start chasing you. Not because you finally got it right, but because you finally became honest enough to stop blocking what was always meant for you. There's a reason this kind of alignment feels so radical. Because it is. We've been taught to seek control, not connection, to micromanage outcomes instead of trusting the field, to strategize instead of synchronize. But control is always rooted in fear, and alignment doesn't grow in fear, it dissolves. This is why so many people burn out on manifestation. They try to force alignment like it's a checklist. Visualize, affirm, journal, meditate, but they're still gripping underneath it all. Gripping to timelines, gripping to self-worth narratives, gripping to the belief that nothing happens unless they make it happen. And that grip, it scrambles the frequency. Because the universe doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your signal. And your signal is shaped by your nervous system, your trauma, your beliefs, your body's readiness to receive. So what happens when your signal says, I need this to happen, or I'm not safe? The universe doesn't interpret that as readiness. It reads it as lack, as scarcity, as resistance. That's the paradox. You get what you're ready to live without. Not in the sense of apathy, but in the sense of non-attachment. Of being so rooted in your own worth, so anchored in your own presence, that you're no longer chasing anything to feel whole. And it's in that space of wholeness without proof that miracles become natural. Because they're no longer compensating for your pain. They're responding to your truth. So when people ask, how do I know if I'm in alignment? It's not about how perfect your life looks. It's about how honest you feel. How deeply your actions reflect your values. How your body feels when you say yes or no. Whether you're still living for approval or finally breathing for yourself. Alignment is not a performance. It's a frequency of coherence between your inner and outer worlds. And when that coherence clicks into place, you stop broadcasting static. You stop living in contradiction. You stop leaking energy trying to be palatable. You stop begging life to deliver what you won't claim out, because now you are the signal. You've become the invitation, and the things you once chased start chasing you, not because you finally got it right, but because you finally became honest enough to stop blocking what was always meant for you. Asterisk, asterisk. So here's the truth no one told you. Alignment was never about effort. It was always about resonance. And resonance doesn't ask you to push. It asks you to tune, to clear the static, to stop broadcasting fear disguised as ambition, to come home to the quiet frequency of enoughness. That's the hidden doorway. That's the quantum key. Not to a life that looks good, but a life that feels real. Because once you align not just your thoughts, but your body, your breath, your being, you stop living in pursuit. You start living in presence. You realize the field has always been responding to your beliefs, to your nervous system, to the subtle, invisible messages your energy has been sending all along God. And then you stop asking, why hasn't it come yet? Because suddenly you feel it, not as a distant hope, but as a quiet knowing. You begin to live as if it's already true, not to manipulate the outcome, but because the outcome is no longer the point. The frequency is dot, so now you walk differently. You speak differently. You choose differently, because you're no longer trying to earn what was always yours. You're simply receiving it dot, and in that space, life becomes spacious. Synchronicities multiply. Resistance softens. Desire clarifies. And everything you once tried to chase starts arriving effortlessly, not because you forced alignment, but because you finally became it. Now pause for a moment. Feel into that dot. What would your life look like if you stopped trying to manifest from your mind and started magnetizing from your truth? What if the version of you who already has it isn't waiting to be created, but remembered? What if alignment wasn't something to do, but something to allow, something to live, something you already are?